Good morning to all. I'm Caterina Giovanni. As Timothy said, I'm an architect and with a specialization in urbanism, and I recently got a PhD in urban studies at ISCTE, University Institute of Lisbon, joined with the Nova University of Lisbon. Today, I'm here with Rita Cachado. She was my PhD supervisor, and she's the coordinator for ISCTE, which is the Portuguese partner of the Erasmus project CLIC. The title of our lecture is 15 minutes proximity and citizen participation, not from Lisbon, and it is based on the topic of a 15-minute city, a topic that many of you will have already heard, because it became recurrent in discourse of urban policies and when we talk about indicator of quality of life and urban health. In the presentation, we will start from the concept, why it becomes so important for the application in cities, and finally, we focus on Lisbon and how this city is implementing the concept. A 15-minute city is a residential urban concept in which most daily needs can be met by walking or cycling from residence home in 15 minutes. The concept was promoted by Anna Hildago for her 2020 re-election campaign in Paris, and it was inspired by the Franco-Colombian urbanist Carlos Moreno in 2016. The activities in the concept sketch for the 15-minute city in Paris are to eat well, to learn, to share views, to circulate, to heal, to grow, to engage, to get some fresh air, to supply, to spend. The urbanist Carlos Moreno wrote in 2021 an article in which he introduced the 15-minute city concept to ensure 60 essential functions within a 15 minutes on walk or by bike from residence home. There are living, working, commerce, healthcare, education, and entertainment. These functions have a framework formed by 4 components: density, proximity, diversity, and digitalization. These components allow to have a better or worse use of services in the neighborhood. Some inspiration of this concept are from Kent Larson, who described the concept of 20-minute city through the ancient cities. If you are interested in know about this, I suggest to see the TED Talk in 2012. And Jane Jacobs, who described the importance of pedestrian life in her famous book, The Death of Life of Great American Cities. After Paris, many plans were implemented in European cities after the COVID-19 outbreak, plans such as Milan, Madrid, Edinburgh. Also, many research studies were addressed to Asian and American populous cities, which is clearly a different scale from European cities, and experimenting also digital ways. For example, Los Angeles created an app that shows the number of services and activities within a 15-minute walk, indicated if the area can be considered an affordable, equitable, healthy, and resource-efficient neighborhood. So, but there is the other part of the coin. So the critical point is that it can create elitist areas, which can lead to phenomenon to gentrification, rising houses prices, and pushing out the residents. So now I present the application of the 15 minutes concept in Lisbon, starting from the citizen participation. The executive of Lisbon City Council launched in January 2022 the Citizens Council, which other cities have already developed, but for Portugal was the first one in the country. The Citizens Council is a place to involve citizens in the decision-making process on some urban topics considered a priority by the executive. It is formed by 50 citizens chosen by raffle and considering in proportion the representativeness of the inhabitants of the municipality. For example, considering the minorities, women, students, and so on. This council have already been 2 editions. The first edition was about climate change, and the second edition was about 50 minus city. The proposals by citizens are divided by topic: education, health, commerce and services, leisure and mobility. For example, they propose houses for teachers and students closer to schools and universities, to do a better articulation of public transport to health centers, to develop a diagnosis of needs in commerce and services, and recovery of vacant buildings. The critical points of the Lisbon Citizens Council is the citizens' proposals of the first edition have not been listened by the executive, and so there is no application actually in urban policies, and therefore we are wondering about the actual validity of the instrument participation, but it's a new instrument, so we hope there will be much time to think about this. And another application of the 15-minute city for Lisbon is the research done by Manuel Banza on 7 neighborhoods in Lisbon. In this research, he analyzed services, schools, university, green spaces, workplaces, hospitals, commerce, and so on, within 15 minutes on foot or by bike. If you would like to know more, I'll leave you the link. The maps of the individual neighborhoods are interactive and very easily to find the services. From this research, the neighborhood of Alvalade in Lisbon results the most prepared for the 15-minute city. But why Alvalade? To know why Alvalade is the most suitable neighborhood for the 15 minutes concept, we have to look in the way Alvalade was built. The Alvalade Plan, also named the Plano de Urbanização da Zona Sul da Avenida Alfares Malheiro, was a plan developed in the decade of 1940 by the architect João Faria da Costa. It is a plan about 230 hectares formed by 12,000 houses for 45,000 inhabitants. At that time, Portugal was under the dictatorship, and this plan had inspiration by other neighborhoods built before in European cities, such as Garbatella in Rome, which was built in the 20s by Mussolini, the Italian dictator. In the plan, in the Alvalade plan, there is a hierarchical grid defined a network of main roads that subdivide 8 cells, forming neighborhood units. These units are structured around a central element, usually the primary school, around which the houses are distributed in buildings with a maximum of 3 floors in height. The objective was not to exceed 500 meters of distance from housing to school, easily accessible on foot. The connections are facilitated by the existence of footpaths crossing the housing blocks in which we found large common outdoor and green spaces. So we are talking about a plan designed from the start, integrated houses and services, not only houses, and it was based on a human scale and not a car scale. In fact, the biggest problem in this neighborhood are today the parking lots, which at the time were not important. Now I pass the word to Rita, who will explain how not all Alvalade neighborhood is part of this concept. Even in this neighborhood, we find the situation where the 15 minutes concept meets difficulties in its application.
Thank you, Caterina. So we now ask you to turn your attention to São João de Brito neighborhood, precisely in Alvalade, which is our case study, and it's a place from where we can learn some details about the practicability of the 15-minute proximity. The neighborhood has around 120 households, The population is composed mostly of aging people. It is a self-built neighborhood that has its origins in the 60s and had a great development in the 70s, but also where an urban plan was only implemented recently with paving the streets, new public spaces, and full infrastructure, which did not exist before. And this urban plan was in the last 2 years. It is a neighborhood which is both embedded in the built territory around, but it is affected by a certain grade of segregation. For instance, it doesn't have any cafeterias or supermarkets or mini markets, nor other stores. During the implementation of our study there, we asked the residents about mobility issues. We understood that soft mobilities, although sustainable and desirable, is something difficult to implement there. The residents have to walk a long distance to the bus stop. People living in the east corner take at least 10 minutes, and people living in the north corner may take 20 to 30 minutes walking to the closest bus stop, which sometimes is difficult for old people. Also, stores and supermarkets are at least 20 minutes away, walking fast. Also, and what they told us was that what it would be a great solution would be a bus stop inside the neighborhood with a small bus, a bus van, as it happens in some other neighborhoods in Lisbon. Considering the urban plan in 21-22, the municipality architects worked with a non-useful scale, with no detail, and many mistakes were done as a result. The residents refer especially to the fact that in some places, streets are very narrow with no sidewalks, or sometimes with big sidewalks, but no parking places. So cars, as you can see in the middle picture, park in the sidewalk. And sometimes it is very difficult to make U-turns. For instance, when supermarket vans come to deliver shopping, it is a mess. For the previous reasons, the connection between the neighborhood and the bigger territory of Alvalade is atomized. Nevertheless, there are some positive signs to remark, such as, on the one hand, recent interactions with the local library in the context of social historical projects, as is the case of Lives and Memories project, and two, a non-profit multidisciplinary architecture atelier is working on co-writing specifications and claims to improve and rectify the urban plan that was implemented there. These two practical positive signs are only possible because there is an active residents association, something which is crucial to guarantee participation of the neighborhood dwellers. Going straight to the final remarks, we would state there that a territory may be well equipped with all useful services for all residents, as seems to be the case of Alvalade, generally speaking. But if parts of that territory don't have those services close to residents, there's a lot to change in urban planning to improve mobility and accessibility to services. Walking and other so-called soft mobilities, if they only serve part of the population, their usefulness is challenged and jeopardized. A present and a future aware of climate change and of a desired equity in health need to reach all types of territories and people of all ages, and Europe is an aging big territory. So in this slide, we share references on the debated issues here, and we thank you very much for your attention.